U.S. intelligence officials announced in a rare news conference Wednesday evening that Russia and Iran have obtained access to some voter registration information, with Iran using it to try to sway Democratic voters in 4 battleground states.
We have already seen Iran sending spoofed emails designed to intimidate voters, incite social unrest, and damage President Trump.
Ratcliffe and FBI Director Chris Wray warned that the U.S. will impose costs on any foreign country that interferes in the election. The president, still on the campaign trail Wednesday night, appealing to his base in a key swing state, North Carolina.
If you want your children to grow up in a free nation where they can speak their minds and practice their religion and live by their values, then you must defeat Sleepy Joe Biden and the radical left.
The vice president has been out of sight all week. Aides say he's been preparing for tonight's debate. In his place Wednesday, President Obama in one of the most important battleground states, Pennsylvania.
Joe will get this pandemic under control with a plan to make testing free and widely available, to get a vaccine to every American cost-free.
The coronavirus, one of the 6 topics on the agenda for tonight's debate in Nashville. In addition to COVID-19, the subjects include American families, race, climate change, national security, and leadership. But there's a new twist, a rule that mutes each candidate for 2 minutes while the other speaks at the beginning of each topic. Many will be watching to see how Biden handles the president's expected attacks on his son Hunter over criticisms of international influence peddling. Biden finally answered the questions in an interview, dismissing them as politics.
It's a last-ditch effort in this desperate campaign to smear me and my family.
There's also questions about whether Biden will commit any self-imposed stumbles and if the president can build momentum. Most polls show Biden with a solid lead. And the vice president is flooding the airwaves with 3 times as much cash as the president. But the Biden team warns that the race is still neck and neck in the battleground states, and both sides remember how the polls turned out in 2016. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Well, our chief political analyst, David Brody, is with us now. And David, what do you think they're going to gain? So many people have already voted. Are they going to change any minds?
There's very few folks that are out there that are probably going to change their minds. But, Pat, this is a base election. And I think that's the key. It's all about energy and enthusiasm. And my sources, and these are multiple sources that are on the ground saying that this feels, on the ground at least, very much like 2016 with Trump. And they could possibly be done in 2020. Why is that? Because the ground game that the Trump campaign has is besting the Biden campaign. It's not even close. Now, what you are seeing visually is a lot of Biden ads on television, not many Trump ads on television. So the question then becomes, what's going to be more effective, those ads on television or an actual ground game, kind of an old school ground game that the Trump campaign has mastered at this point? That's what we're about to find out.
Well, you know, one of the big mistakes in sports is to think you're ahead, and then you sit on your lead and you stop being aggressive. I mean, Biden had just been like hiding out. Are they afraid of something he might say?
Absolutely, Pat. And look, you're right. I think the sports analogy is right on. This is basically a political version of the prevent defense. You know, you're up by 3 touchdowns, at least you think you are. And so you play back on defense and let the other team basically not score a touchdown on you, but just march it down the field. But the Trump campaign has been marching it down the field, and we're starting to see these polls, especially in the battleground states, get closer and closer. So on the debate stage tonight, the question becomes, will Biden make a big gaffe? There's more of an opportunity for that, as you know, Pat, because they're going to mute Donald Trump's mic. You know, they've been trying to mute him. The media and social media has been trying to mute him all along. Apparently this is the only way you can mute Donald Trump, by literally clipping his mic. But you know what? That actually may be good because, Pat, let's be honest. If we were injecting Trump supporters with truth serum, they would all say, you know what? a little less mute, a little more muting of Trump at certain times might not actually be a bad thing. And I think tonight, Trump's going to be muted about 12 minutes of the 90-minute debate overall. And that means Biden's going to talk more, which means more opportunity for a gaffe.
You know, Trump's getting advice that he should stay off that Biden thing and concentrate on foreign policy and on taxes and on the differences about those key areas. What do you think? Is he going to go after Biden? He probably shouldn't, should he?
Yeah, but you know what he's going to? He's going to go after the Hunter Biden thing tonight. As a matter of fact, I have some campaign sources telling me exactly that. No, you can expect the president to go after Joe Biden on the Hunter Biden issue. And here's why. Because the campaign believes this isn't a Hunter Biden issue. They believe it's a Joe Biden issue. They believe that this is a Joe Biden corruption issue in terms of potentially taking some money off the top, if you will, from some of Hunter Biden's dealings, and a potential cover-up. Joe Biden said he didn't know anything at all about some of these business dealings that Hunter Biden was doing. And now we're starting to get a trickle that, well, wait a minute. Joe Biden might not have been upfront. So is there a potential cover up there? I think you're going to see the president go after him on corruption and cover up tonight. And Pat, here's the key thing. Will Trump be able to basically take that corruption and cover up and Joe Biden mantra and weave it into this narrative of how Joe Biden's been in D.C. for 47 years and is the quintessential insider? If he can take both of those, merge them together, that's a winning debate performance. We'll see what happens.
Well, one last question. The Biden team has put out an email saying they're tied in key states and that Trump could still win. And are they trying to scare people, or are they really serious about that?
Well, I think it's both, honestly. I think the race is tightening. I don't think there's a question about that. They also don't want to see a replay of what happened to Hillary Clinton in 2016. Remember, in 2016, the Clinton campaign, got greedy. They started to go into states that they thought they could win and pile on for a landslide. They ended up not going to Wisconsin, a key state, and lost there. And so I think there's a sense that from the Biden campaign that they've got to say, they got to tamp down expectations and say we're in a close race because they want that voter turnout to happen. I will tell you, though, that the polls are tightening, and some of my sources are telling me that the Trump campaign looks very good in Florida, in North Carolina, even Arizona. What they're going to need, the Trump campaign is going to need in 2020, is to win at least one of those three big Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. They're going to need one of them. And if Florida goes south on election night, it may be good night nurse for the Trump campaign.